Chapter 30, The King of Chinatown, May 2001. Mondo and Boxer pulled up to the tortilla factory in Boxer's black Camry. It was a sweet ride, and Mondo assumed the car wasn't strictly the product of NF proceeds. Boxer came from a well-off family. His dad owned a chain of grocery stores. Mondo, too, was doing pretty well for himself these days. The parties were non-stop, and with the cash he made in Chinatown, he could afford to be generous. He hadn't gotten around to marrying Erica yet, but it was his plan. He just had to get a few things out of his system first. After all, he'd been locked up for years and had to make up for lost time. But he could feel good that he was taking care of Erica and the baby, financially anyway. He'd smile when he saw them lounging around the Motel 6 pool, enjoying the fruits of his labor. He worried about Boxer though. The guy was using heroin and had a hard time keeping a grip on familia business. Still, he was making money, and right now the NF needed money bad. Who knew when all this was going to blow up? Anybody could be a rat, and today could be your last day of freedom. Boxer parked behind the tortilla factory. The tracks were empty and the factory silent. It was quiet enough to hear a faint hum from the electric lines overhead. Near the tracks, behind the factory's long back wall, stirred the only signs of life, a line of junkies. With them stood Raymond Sanchez, his proud posture telling the world he owned the place. No one in the crowd said a word as the dropout walked towards Boxer's ride. Chuka hung back with the rest, watching. It was the Wild West, and this looked to be an old-fashioned showdown. Sanchez leaned over Mondo's side of the Camry, then strolled around the Boxer. Mondo opened his door and slipped into the back seat. He reached into his pants and, out of sight, pulled out his gun. Boxer told Sanchez to get in the car so they could talk. Sanchez eyed the empty seat with Mondo sitting right behind and stepped back. Mondo understood from his expression that Sanchez had grasped what they were planning. Mondo racked the gun slide with the clack, so loud Chuka and the others heard it. The first round was chambered, and the rest could fly with a fury so profound the junkies would think it rained blood in Chinatown that day. Sanchez edged further away, but he still faced them. Boxer reached back, took the weapon from Mondo, and stepped out of the Camry. He held the gun high and waved it. "If you want it to come to this," Boxer shouted, "then it can." "Yeah," Sanchez yelled, "fuck you." Then he turned and took off running. Mondo leapt out of the car, and he and Boxer chased Sanchez full speed through the driveway behind the tortilla factory out to the street. Abruptly, they had to stop at the curb as their target darted in and out of the workway traffic on West Market Street. That evening, Stalker swung by Chinatown. Chuka told him what happened after Mondo and Boxer left. Raymond Sanchez had come back an hour later with a dozen cousins and nephews, all armed and declaring war on the NF. Mondo and Boxer had already departed, of course, and the Sanchez army eventually disbanded, but not without making sure Chuka and anyone else around passed on the word. This was war. That settled it. For months, this guy had been declaring himself the king of Chinatown, and now he fucking spat in the NF's face. The crew had not gone looking for this trouble. They'd been reasonable in their offers, and the fucking dropout answered them by disrespecting the NF in front of everyone. There was a line, and he had crossed it. Boxer and Mondo called a meeting at the Motel 6. They told Suave what happened. Suave borrowed Boxer's cell phone to call the big homie Achali. Mondo strained to hear what was said, but he could tell by Suave's demeanor that it was on. After a few minutes, Suave clicked off the phone and told them they had it, the green light. Stalker stood at the tracks next to Chuka. He always told her that if anything happened to her or the other dope sellers, she should notify him or Boxer and they take care of it. Well, this was one of those occasions, she told him. That white kid dealer, they called him Woody, had come to Chuka for help. Raymond Sanchez had threatened the kid, told him to get the fuck out of Chinatown. Sanchez was expanding his turf and was now moving into the tortilla factory. Woody was scared shitless and wanted a weapon for self-defense, Chuka said. They agreed to all meet at her motel. When Stalker left, Chuka ruminated about the news. The biggest news she heard in days. The green light, we have it. We didn't have it before, but we have it now. Later, in Chuka's cramped room at the Rodeo Inn, the white kid Woody explained his situation and asked for a gun. Stalker had told her the crew needed all the weapons it had because of the Sanchez threat, but he promised he'd work on it. When a huge rifle was at last delivered to Chuka, she asked what the kid was going to do with it, but it was all the crew could spare. Woody reluctantly took the weapon, but within a couple hours became convinced he couldn't stand around Chinatown with the enormous thing hanging at his side for the world to see. He meant a handgun, damn it. He called Chuka. She drove over to Chinatown, put the awkward ass weapon in her car's trunk, then drove back to the motel, hoping for one good night's sleep this week. At 5:30 in the morning, Selena's police pounded on her door and demanded entry. 2 days later, the big homie pulled his Beamer into a parking lot and motioned for Stalker to get in. He'd driven all the way to Selena's to take care of a few urgent items of business. They hadn't met since the Santa Rosa Junta a few weeks ago. Stalker climbed into the gray BMW a bit disconcerted. Everything had changed up. He thought he was going to meet the man at Northridge Mall. Then Achille called from his cell phone and said things just didn't look right. Some dude was standing around the hometown buffet surveying everything. Stalker wondered at this. His people hadn't seen anything. Ever since the indictments, everyone was feeling paranoid. But per the big homie's wishes, they met at the Safeway. Stalker's Camry had the discretion of tinted windows, but big homie insisted Stalker join him in his BMW, which had clear glass and was parked out in the open. Pretty much the worst spot possible. This guy's logic was perplexing, Stalker thought. What's your assessment? What's going on in this town right now? Achille asked. Stalker reported that Boxer was out there too much, partying in motels. He started to explain that he got that information from Sophie. When Achille took a quick call, hung up, then abruptly changed the subject. This Ray Sanchez, Achille said. I never heard of this cat. He's just some guy, no good, Stalker said. He and his family, they sell over there. But what it was, my runner says he's doing 30 grams a day. That's the amount coming in, selling it, no problem. Then Ray Sanchez came. One-on-one, no problem. Then, what Ray Sanchez did, he put 3 of his people out there. So those 3 will go first, then my runner. 3-1, 3-1. The money was dropping. So one day I went and asked him. Ray Sanchez said, I can't stand here no more. This is his spot. Stalker said he and Suave discussed the situation. And so Suave gave orders to Boxer to beat up Sanchez real bad if he showed his face in Chinatown again. Stalker turned to the big homie and confided that he couldn't see the logic of that. Boxer had already had 2 strikes on him. He'd get a 3rd strike for an assault charge, which meant 25 to life. Why risk a 3 strike if he's gonna just get beat up, Stalker said. Yeah, Achille agreed. Might as well kill the motherfucker for a 3rd strike. Yeah, Achille said. Why are you gonna beat somebody up when they're just gonna come back and shoot you up, right? It's emotion, Stalker assured his boss. It's emotion tonight. We're gonna take care of it. He told Achille that nothing had happened yet and that he knew it because he hadn't heard nothing. They just scared him away. But it's cool for now, Stalker said. My guy just says, give me a 22 or whatever and I'll just stay out here all night. Achille thought this over. The thing is this, he said, is we got more on the table than just a fight for a little power, a little territory. He struggled to find the right words. It's not letting him sell drugs. It's like this. We look the other way when the Border Brothers are selling drugs, when whites are selling drugs, when blacks are selling drugs. And you're going to be in the territory, especially in Salinas, yeah. When there's going to be no good people selling dope, yeah. What are you going to do? Smoke anybody that fucking sells dope? That's no good. You can't do it. You can't control everybody that sells dope. Yeah, but Stalker interrupted. But when they come and try to take over all the shit, Achille agreed, that's different. Yeah, but you don't have to shed blood because all it's going to do is bring heat down, brother. This baffled Stalker. Achille had already given the green light on Sanchez and Stalker had put the word out on the streets. It wasn't something he could take back. Guys with guns were out there waiting for Sanchez to show his face. It was in motion. Stalker could only assume that all this no violence rhetoric had to do with the indictments. His frustration grew as he considered that it was Achille who pulled him into the center of this mess, and now the guy was screwing them with this new order. Everything seemed kind of off with the man, and Stalker felt a nagging doubt about his motives. Achille said all the regiments were getting the same instructions. They've been told, no fucking bloodshed, brother. No bloodshed. Let's keep this fucking... Yeah, Stalker agreed. You know, it's a business. If it comes to it, we have no choice. Though still somewhat bewildered, Stalker believed he got it now. If their backs were against the wall, if the fucker kept trying to muscle in, the green light stood. Achilles said it himself. If it comes to it, we have no choice. But we have a choice in the matter. Then let's make it the right choice, Achilles continued. And the right choice is looking the other way. Okay, Stalker said. He had a bad feeling, but he could not challenge the big homie. War had already been declared in Chinatown. Didn't Achilles understand that halting the green light now would be like trying to stop a freight train? He tried to explain that Boxer had attempted to reason with Sanchez and generously offered him a 50-50 split on the action. I guess the guy, Ray Sanchez, wanted everything, Stalker began. Achilles interrupted. Where's he at now? Ray Sanchez? Hiding out. He's hiding out. He's not sending his people out to your territory no more? No, then that's it. Stalker hesitated. I guess that's it. Well, why go and look more? Yeah. Why go to his house? Why go searching for him? Why send somebody? Why send manpower? We're not expendable. No, Stalker agreed. You guys gotta understand, you can't just send manpower out there thinking they're expendable when the situation to me is quelled. Fine, Stalker thought. The crew wouldn't go out looking for the guy. He would relay the confusing order to Suave and see what happened. Discussion over. They talked about the bank. Stalker said it was hard to kick it right now. He was getting some sales going down in Soledad, Greenfield, and King City. But mostly he was busy dealing with security. He was, however, getting some clean ice and trying to move that. Achilles was curious about this ice stuff and wanted Stalker to bring him some to try out. But he put it off for a later date. Achilles' phone rang. Hold on, he told Stalker. Hey, hi babe, what? You love me or something? He grinned at his subordinate. My wife, he said, and turned back to the phone. What's up, babe? I'm right here in the middle of talking to somebody, but I'll call you in a minute. I'll call you back later, alright? Where you at? You going to be home for a while? Okay, mama, he said. Love you too, babe. Bye. Turning back to Stalker, Achilles said he was worried about Suave because the guy didn't know how to control his manpower. The problem with men like Suave, Achilles said, is they don't listen to experienced brothers like Stalker, who had a lower rank than Suave, but much more experience. A lot of carnales won't bow down like that, because they see it as belittling themselves. Because all of a sudden, they're John fucking Gotti, right? He said, laughing. Stalker laughed too, and he said he tried to explain that to Suave, that he should learn from what happened to Rico and Lobo, the way Lobo had been a big old bully. That was why all that shit happened with Copas. A lot of people lost respect for Lobo, and nowadays they were losing it for Suave. In contrast, Achilles said he admired Stalker's instinctive security skills. The guy didn't even trust Nextels. He always called Achilles from a payphone across the street from the Motel 6. That way, if the feds put up a wiretap, it could be anybody on the line. Achilles' phone rang again and he took the call. So you guys are ready to roll? He asked the caller. Then let's just ride then. I spoke my piece with this brother here. Okay? Okay. I've got to get a hold of my girl, man. She's up here probably spending all my money. But as soon as I get in touch with her, we'll roll out of here. Okay? Alright, bye. He hung up and Stalker stared. That was strange. Hadn't Achilles just said his wife was at home? How could she suddenly be down here shopping 3 hours south of Santa Rosa? Maybe Stalker had misunderstood. Achilles advised him to keep an eye on Suave, adding he had his authority to sit the guy down and have a talk. And I don't want no more bloodshed out here, he reminded Stalker, okay? If something comes at us, you can't help it. But to go looking for it and doing anything that's... Achilles took yet another call, hung up and said it was time to roll. Stalker got out of the vehicle, still concerned and only slightly less confused about Raymond Sanchez. He understood they should not go looking for him, but if the man came at them, Achilles had just said, well then, they couldn't help it.